Good morning, everybody. To answer Nick's rhetorical question, I'm fired up. Are you guys fired up? Let's have a great day. Really, truly welcome. I love the first Pulse in a new location. This will be the third time we did that. We did the first Pulse, obviously, in San Francisco. And then 3 years ago now, we did the first Pulse in London. And it's a little bit like saying I have a favorite child, but my favorite Pulses have been the first ones that we do in a new location. So hopefully at the end of the day, I'll add this one to that list. So just really excited to have all of you here. It's so cool to look around the room and see this many people. And I'm super excited to be hosting you guys today. So thanks for coming. The intro is correct. I am Dan Steinman, General Manager of Gainsight EMEA. Nick was also correct. I have no shoe game at all. It's plain old black loafers. I don't try to make a statement with my shoes. We'll see if I can do better with my words. So welcome to our party. This is going to be a lot of fun, but I'm going to guess that most of you have not been to Pulse before. I know some have. Raise your hand if you've been to one of our big Pulse events. Yeah, there's a few of you, but there's a lot of you that haven't. So I want to start by playing a little recap video of some of the Pulse in the past so that you can kind of see what that experience looks and feels like and get excited for today.
Who's excited? Who's fired up?
You know, I thought last year's Pulse was unbelievable, but this year, literally, I'm checking my pulse.
Pulse has become the de facto standard for the customer success industry. We have thousands of people here in the city, a great event at night. If you're in the industry, you're crazy not to be here.
This is a bunch of like-minded people that are all focused on putting the customer in the center of what they do. It's really engaging. They're great speakers, great breakouts. It's a lot of fun. And honestly, this is sort of the future of how we need to look at our customers when we evaluate what we're going to do going forward. So sending your people here is a great investment.
Today we are at Pulse 2018 here in Europe. This is a conference we do every year to bring together the customer success community across Europe. And frankly, I leave as the CEO of Gainsight being inspired by this community.
Yeah, last year we had just short of 1,100 people. This year, somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,300 to 1,400, and about almost 600 different companies came to this, so it was really, really good. Okay, so that's a sense of Pulse. You guys got some sense already, all of the energy. It's so cool for the community to get together. So thanks again for being here. By the way, my Chief Marketing Officer would like me to apologize for that long plane interlude between Pulse US and Pulse Europe. That is Gainsight's private jet. Ignore the Swiss Air on the side of it. That's actually our airplane. Anyway, welcome to the party. This is going to be a lot of fun. I want to start by being really transparent. We pride ourselves as a company on being really transparent and sharing things we know, things we don't know, mistakes we've made, et cetera. And I want to start today by doing that as well and just fall on my sword up front and tell you guys that we know nothing about ANZ. We have no people here. Most of us are visiting for the first or second time, so we literally know nothing. And I want to just share with you some of our very ignorant cultural perceptions of ANZ, and forgive us for all of them. The first one is, we have no idea which flag belongs to who. Now, I don't know whose fault that is, but I checked with a lot of people, and most of them actually think that's the flag of the UK, both of them. So we know nothing about that. We do not know what this word means. We didn't even know it was a word. It's not in our dictionary anywhere. So we don't know what that means unless you're a League of Legends fan, and then apparently there's some dude with that particular name. We are constantly curious about whether this is really how you spell beer in Australia. Is that possible? I don't think so. But in America, we think that's what it is, right? Australian for beer. We believe that every single meal that you eat here is either this or this. And that's because all of our cultural awareness comes from either this movie or these songs. And everybody in the US thinks that Australia and New Zealand are side by side. They share a border. So when you find out that it's 3.5 hours on an airplane to go from Sydney to Auckland, that's quite a surprise. And in fact, in the US, most people think this bridge takes you from Sydney to Auckland. It's an easy walk, right? It's not a big deal. We also believe, truly, that there is such a thing as take your koala to work day. I don't know if that's dangerous or not, but it sounds kind of cool. They look so cuddly. We think this is a UFO. We think this is why the New Zealanders are called Kiwis. We don't know there's a bird called a kiwi. And last but not least, general perception is that this guy is your prime minister. And on behalf of all of Gainsight and all of America, I truly apologize. We just know nothing, but we're going to learn really fast. So let's talk about this Pulse thing, because many of you haven't been to Pulse, and you probably don't even really know what it is. It's a very specific brand for us. A lot of what we do at Gainsight is not just about selling software. We are a software company, but we invest a ton of time and energy and money into building the community. And that's how we use the Pulse brand. So when something has a Pulse brand on it, it's not about Gainsight. So you will hear no sales pitches from this stage today. At all Pulses in the past, I've always announced first thing that I'm on vacation during Pulse because I don't work for Gainsight today. I'm just part of the customer success community. And our Pulse brand is all about driving the customer success community. So we do things like this. We originally called it Customer Success University. Now we've rebranded it to Pulse Academy. We did it yesterday. Shout out to everyone who was there yesterday. Raise your hands. Yeah, really awesome. We had 140 people doing Pulse Academy yesterday. And it's simply a training program for new people in the customer success world. We want to raise the bar, get people up the learning curve faster. If we're serious about this business, we want to make your lives easier by helping with things like training. In addition, we do something called Pulse Locals. I think there's about 50 of them around the world in different cities. And all it is us helping to organize the local customer success community to get together. Well, we didn't need to do that in Sydney. Shout out to Customer Success Society here in Sydney. Yeah, absolutely. So you guys figured it out a long time ago. We need to get together to talk to each other. It's really important to do that. Customer Success, the book. You guys have probably seen it. If you were in there hanging out near our booth, it's there. That book has nothing to do with Gainsight. It doesn't have that word in it anywhere. I know because I wrote most of it and edited it. It's not about Gainsight. It's about customer success. It's about how do we draw more of the best and brightest into the customer success world. And a big part of my job is to tell all of your CEOs how important your job is, how hard your job is, and how much more money you should be getting paid. And I spend a lot of my time doing exactly that. We have a job board. Again, this isn't promoting Gainsight in any way. It's just giving customer success people a place to go if they're looking for another job or looking for people who are looking for another job. And in the customer success world, any of you who are hiring managers probably have a pretty good idea of how hard that is to do these days. And last but not least, we do big conferences like this one. We do one in the US every year. In April, there were 5,000 people at Pulse in the US. A month ago in London, we did it for the 4th time, and we had 1,300 people there. So it's really cool to see this one with almost 400 people here today. But we do these conferences because we think the community wants to come together, and the fact that you're all here proves that to us. The community wants to come together to talk to each other, to network, to share experiences, to learn from those who have done some things that maybe we haven't done. And I think it's an annual event for most people who come to it. They come back because it's their time to kind of almost do a family reunion. So that's what Pulse is all about. The other thing that Pulse is all about is validation. Invariably, when I talk to people who have just come to Pulse, one of the things they say is, I feel so reassured, because they thought one of these 3 things, and they find out that it's not true. Number 1, you are not alone. Lots of customer success people kind of feel like they're alone. It's hard to find other people who are doing that job. Not everybody has a customer success society. You can't walk into your favorite coffee shop and find a couple of customer success managers like you could always find a salesperson. So one of the reassurances you'll take away from today is you're not alone. There's a bunch of people doing the same thing you're doing, struggling with the same things you're struggling with, headaches from the same kind of bosses, all of those kinds of things, and that's a really good thing to share. So number one, you're not alone. Number two, you're not stupid. Because in isolation, we sit there thinking, gosh, I bet everyone else has this figured out. I bet I'm the only person in the world who can't figure out how to do tech touch really well. Well, when you come here and you start talking to other people, you find out pretty quickly that that's not true. Nobody's that far ahead. You're not stupid. In fact, you're probably doing some things that are ahead of some of the other people sitting next to you. So I encourage you to make sure you talk to them, find out what they're doing, share with them. And the last thing you're going to find out is that you're not 5 years behind the rest of the world. Again, in isolation, you might sit there thinking, I bet every other company in the world has this all figured out. I bet their data is perfect and they have all their programs running and everything's working. That is absolutely not true. It's not true of Gainsight, and we spend all of our lives thinking about this stuff. So please make sure as you go through the day, think about these things. Just look around. You know you're not alone, and you've already found out in your conversations that you're not 5 years behind and that you're not stupid, right? There's a lot of stuff going on. Everyone's trying to figure it out together. It's part of why this community is so darn important. So I want to give you a little conference advice. Many of you guys have been to a lot of conferences, so maybe you don't need this, but I've managed a lot of people and paid the budget to send people to conferences. And I'm here to tell you that your boss, tomorrow morning, when she says, how was the conference? She doesn't want to just hear, oh, it was great, it was really fun. She wants to hear something tangible, right? So I want you guys to think about that and see if you can bring something tangible home. So I have a little thing called 111, 3 things to do that are all important. So the first one is find one person today that you're going to stay in touch with, that you're going to talk to once a month, that you're going to find a local coffee shop and get together and share stories. That is really powerful. I tell my CSMs, if you're not doing that with someone outside of our company at least once a month, you're not doing your job. You need to sit with people and say, tell me what you're trying that's working, and tell me what you've tried that didn't work. It's a simple conversation, and if you're like me, you find that 1 hour often turns into multiple hours because that conversation is so stimulating, learning from each other. So first thing, find one person that you will stay in touch with. Second thing is, find one thing today that you're going to start doing tomorrow morning. That's the answer to your boss's question, right? How was the conference? Well, it was really great. I had a lot of fun, and there's one thing I'm starting right now to do differently because I learned it from XYZ. So one thing you're going to start today, and then put one thing on the back burner that you're going to start doing and thinking about today, but you're probably going to execute it on 6 months from now. So 111, find one person you're going to connect with, one thing you're going to start doing tomorrow, one thing that you're going to start thinking about to do 6 months from now. So ceremonial fist bump. Turn to your neighbor, give them the customer success fist bump. Get some energy going. Come on, everybody, fist bump. It's not natural for me either, so. Okay, now let's talk about some of the trends in customer success. So we've been around this for quite a long time. Personally, I've been doing customer success probably for close to 30 years. It's only been called customer success for the last 12 or 13. But I've been doing this for a long time, and we observe as a company the trends in the industry, because we literally talk to thousands of companies every year that are doing customer success or thinking about it. And by the way, it doesn't matter what it's called. It doesn't have to be called customer success. That's a euphemism for customer centricity or trying to drive value in your products, things like that. So what are some of the trends? These are things that we've observed that have changed. So a little bit of this might be things that you don't yet see in Australia, New Zealand, or APAC, but I want you to know they're happening in other parts of the world. That means they're going to happen here at some point, because customer success is here to stay. It's not going away. So some of these trends, you may not be observing them yet, but I guarantee you over the next 2 to 3 years, you'll start seeing this, and they'll all make sense to you. Trend number one is this one. Customer success is not that post-sales thing. It isn't just about churn and retention. Customer success drives sales. It really does. It accelerates sales cycles. If you do it well, it drives new business sales. And the bottom line reason for that is this: because your prospects are talking to your customers right now. I guarantee it. And it's because of a little thing called LinkedIn. If you're a prospect of ours, let's say we're in a sales cycle with you, it would take any one of you in this room maybe 3 or 4 minutes on LinkedIn to find somebody you know who's using our product. And then the dialogue goes like this: hey, I noticed that you're using Gainsight. What do you think? Are they responsive? Did they deliver what they promised? Do they treat you the way you want to be treated? Are you getting the value you expected, right? Those conversations are happening all the time. And that conversation, I guarantee you, the response to that question, how's it going with Gainsight or whatever company, that conversation either accelerates that sales cycle or it decelerates it. There's no apathy here. Everyone has an opinion and they will share it with somebody they know. This is happening all the time. We did a survey for a whole year. We surveyed every single new customer that signed on, and we asked them a bunch of questions. And 100.0% of those new customers for that year told us they had talked to our customers, not through our reference program. I wouldn't say your reference program is obsolete, but I'd think hard and long about how valuable it is. That's why advocacy is so important. You need to do customer success well, so those phone calls are positive phone calls. Now that's a pretty fuzzy thing as a goal, but you have to think about it. How do you measure advocacy, and how do you assure yourselves that more of those phone calls are positive than are negative? Because you know they're happening, and they're gonna either slow down your sales cycle or they're gonna accelerate it. So you have to do whatever you can to make sure as many of those conversations are positive as possible. You know, NPS is potentially one of the solutions to that. We do NPS surveys, and it's one of the ways that we gauge, do we think a lot of those conversations are positive? So that's one thing. Customer success drives sales. It really does. It's not a post-sales thing. In fact, we should stop saying post-sales because there's no such thing anymore. Second trend, customer success is a company-wide priority. This is actually a mandate maybe more than it is a trend, but I think people are getting it. Customer success cannot be done if you say, oh, don't worry about customers, we have a department that takes care of them. That can't be the solution. It will not work. It absolutely will not work. It's a top-down, company-wide commitment. This is customer success law number 1. If you read the 10 laws of customer success, in PDF form, this is law number 1. In the book, it's law number 10 because the publisher didn't think it was sexy enough to be law number 1. But it is law number 1. If it's not top-down and company-wide, you have no chance of being successful. So if your CEO and your board aren't bought in, your primary job should be to get your CEO and your board bought in. Because without that, you're gonna have a really hard time. They're gonna see you as a cost center, they're gonna see you as an afterthought, they're gonna dump all sorts of customer stuff on your plate that you can't solve because you need the whole company helping you with it. And often the way this works is CEO will decide customer success is important for whatever reason. He's talking to his buddies about it. So they form a team. And then they say, and the whole company's behind you. You're the customer success team, but the whole company is behind you. And then a customer churns, and then this happens. Right? Now it's blame time. Yeah, the whole company's behind you, way behind you, and you're responsible for that customer churning. Don't let this happen. Don't let it be a department. Make sure that you're not a department, because if customer success remains just a department, I guarantee you will fail. Customer success is bigger than customer success managers or management. So keep that in mind. That's really important. And if you're not working on that, if you're a leader of customer success, you better be managing upwards and making sure everybody in your company really buys into that. If your VP of sales and your VP of product don't believe customer success is a company-wide commitment, then you need to change their minds about that, because you can't survive unless you get that. Career success. Customer success is a pretty cool place to be from a career standpoint. Now, I don't know if you chose it or if it chose you or if you fell into it or someone forced you into it, but if you decide you like it, it's a huge opportunity. Many of you know some of these stats. In the US, in 2018, according to LinkedIn, customer success is the 3rd hottest job. That's pretty cool. What's even cooler is in Australia, it's the #1 hottest job. So if you're looking for other customer success people, you already know this, because they're all employed and they all have pretty good jobs, or else they don't care, because you could probably name your job if you have any experience at all. It's really cool. Now, here's another truth. Used to be the only way to become a CEO was to grow up, either start your own company, then you can call yourself whatever you want, or to grow up in the sales organization or in the product organization. Those were pretty much the only paths to the CEO office. But today, I am 100% convinced that the best path, not just one of the paths, but the best path to the CEO office is through the customer organization. And as Nick says here, and I've been saying this for years as well, if you're a chief customer officer and you manage that entire customer journey, you know more about your entire business than anyone else in the business. You know way more than the guy who runs sales or the gal who runs product, right? This is really a path to the CEO office. If you want to do that job, I'm going to argue that you're in the best place to do that. Build your career through customer success. Fourth trend, what we call prescriptive, and that is your customers probably want what our customers want, which is for us to tell them how to do this thing. Whatever you do for a living, whatever your company does, you have the opportunity to be really prescriptive with your customers as well. And what does that mean? Well, almost every meeting we have with a company starts like this. Well, you know, we're really unique. You probably don't know any company quite like us. You know, we do things a little bit differently here. And all of that is not true. We've seen it all, and you're not a snowflake. We're not really all that different. What's missing is that we don't have a common language, right? We talk about customer success as if it's one thing. Like I live in London now managing our EMEA team, and we still talk about Europe as if it's one thing. It's not one thing. Customer success is not one thing either. When someone says, hey, who does customer success really well? I'm like, I don't know what you mean by that question. So we tried to develop a common language, and because we're a little bit geeky, we put it into a periodic table. And all it is breaking down customer success into its various components. Things like customer 360 view, right? You got to gather your data together so everyone has one clear view of the customer. You have to manage the customer's life cycle. You probably want to do adoption management because you want your customers to adopt your products more. That's what gives them value. So you'll hear more throughout the day about the periodic table of customer success elements. But that's all it is trying to create a common language so you can say to your buddy, hey, do you guys do tech touch? And if so, how do you do it? And is it working for you? Or do you do renewal management? And how do you do renewal management, right? These are the components of doing customer success. So that's really important. The last thing I'll talk about from a trend standpoint is customer success itself. This truly is trending. You can see by the jobs and the hottest jobs and things like that. Customer success itself is a trend. This young guy, 5.5 years ago, stood on the stage in San Francisco and announced to the world that the customer success movement starts here, starts now. That was a US thing, that was a Silicon Valley thing. But I'm here today to say the same thing to you. I'm not saying that customer success has never been done in APAC or in ANZ before. Of course it has. But the coming together of this group is a statement to the rest of the world. Customer success movement in APAC starts here, starts today, and you're part of it. I commend all of you to go and preach the good news. Customer success is here. The book that we wrote is an indicator of the trends of customer success. I never would claim that it's the greatest book ever written. My opinion is it's probably third, maybe fourth, depends on what you think of Moby Dick. But it's an indicator of what's happening. It's an indicator of the customer success movement. It didn't get translated into Japanese and Portuguese because that's cool. It got translated because there's huge demand in Brazil and Japan for knowledge about customer success. I think the most important trend is that name on the book, despite the names on the bottom, that name on the top of the book is the most important name. Maria Martinez is the godmother of customer success. She built the first customer success team at Salesforce, worked there for 17 years. The reason that her name on this book is important is not the Salesforce connection, it's because she recently left for another really hot small software company called Cisco, right? Kind of not a small hot SaaS software company, a big old school hardware networking company, paid a lot of money to get Maria Martinez to leave Cisco after 17 years and join Cisco, or leave Salesforce after 17 years and join Cisco. That's a really big deal. That's a trend in the industry, that this isn't just about SaaS companies, this isn't just about software, this is a revolution that's happening. Last but not least, one of the trends we track is how many people come to Pulse. Just this year, almost 7,000 people have come to Pulse as of today. Over the years, something like 15,000. And the trend is pretty clear. It's more every single year. And it's an indicator of what's happening in the customer success movement. So welcome to the customer success movement. So excited that all of you are here. The movement in APAC starts today, so go make it true. And now I want to invite onto stage my Director of Marketing in EMEA, Lauren Ulrich. And when Lauren gets onto this stage, you will be looking at the only 2 people in the world who have been to all 11 Pulses. So come on, Lauren.
Hey, Dan.
And Lauren, you're going to share with everybody what to expect today, right?
Yeah, we're going to go through some logistics really quickly. But first of all, I want to say I'm so thrilled to be here. As Dan mentioned, this is the 11th Pulse. I feel very honored to be here and be a part of all of the Pulses. And just it makes me so happy to see everyone and have everyone so excited about what we're doing with customer success. So there are 378 people across our 2-day event who have decided to take time away from their customers and join us. So thank you so much for being a part of it and from coming as far as, across the bay, from India, the Philippines, Singapore. We have a couple of people from the UK, the USA. So thank you for traveling near and far to be here today. Quick note, so Pulse is not just an event for startups, and it's not just an event for big enterprise companies. It's really an event for companies of all sizes. So I want to really encourage you to take every opportunity to network with people and learn from people who may not have the same kind of high-touch, tech-touch model as you, but you can pull some nuggets from everybody that you talk to because everyone's doing something a little bit different. We also have 170 unique companies in the audience today, which is really amazing that there's so many different companies around this region who have devoted some time and people to really developing their customer success practices. And I want to do a special shout out to the logos that are at the bottom of the screen. They've decided to send 5 or more people to Pulse, and it's really a big testament to them deciding to bring their teams and really develop big team practices together. So let's quickly orient ourselves to the space. So right now we are all in Bondi, which is where we're going to be doing our keynotes, and then we're also going to have a breakout in here in the afternoon. Downstairs you're going to find 3 other breakouts. I'll explain those in just a second. And then next door you probably had your coffee and you were checking out the Success Hub, but we have a lot of really cool things happening in that space, and I will explain that as well. So let's talk about the agenda. So in this room right now, we have our keynotes, and what you can expect if you haven't had a chance to look at the agenda very deeply. You can find really interesting research on the CS profession. You can find out what customer success at scale looks like for some companies. And we're also going to have some really amazing panels featuring local CEOs and VCs. Then, in the afternoon, when we transform this room to Success Unplugged, it's going to be more of a workshop style format, which is why we have these table rounds. Because the way we've decided to do this track, and it's something we've been doing since 2015, is a lot of people told us that they didn't just like to, sit and watch the presentations. They really wanted to roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty, talk to people who are in the audience, share their stories and their struggles. And so that's why we decided to build this Success Unplugged format. So it's kind of half presentation, half workshop. Then downstairs, you can find the imperatives of customer success, where we're going to be covering topics such as segmentation, customer success metrics, journey mapping, and a few others. So think of this as kind of like a step further beyond the foundations and being able to learn from some people who are doing some of those really critical components of customer success very well. Next up, road to transformation. So Dan had the periodic table of customer success elements up in Trend 4. Now, there's a lot going on that slide. I saw a few people taking some photos. You'll see that a bunch more times throughout the conference. Now, not everybody is doing everything on that table. It's a lot of stuff. So if you want to kind of benchmark yourself against peers and figure out how you can take your customer success to the next level, you should consider this track as kind of like a map on your customer success maturity journey. And so definitely check out those sessions if you want to kind of go a few steps further. Now, finally, we have another track called Customer Success Alignment. I'm sure everybody in this room knows that their jobs are extremely cross-functional. You're always working with different departments. And so in this track, you can expect to learn a little bit more about how to align better with sales, align better with services and support, how to turn your happy customers into advocates, and then also how to unlock additional revenue through customer education. Now, Dan mentioned that we had Pulse Academy yesterday, and we did do a little bit of a shout out, but I really want to just give everyone a round of applause. Everyone who decided to come yesterday, let's just celebrate them, all 140 of you. And that applause also applies to our sponsors. Without them, this event would not be possible at all. So thank you so much to Intellum and Influitive and Hugo. They have space next door, so please definitely go check them out because one thing that I've found is in customer success, you actually have to use a ton of different tools, and their solutions are very analogous, or they complement everything that you're doing as a customer success professional. So check out what they're offering. Also next door in the Success Hub, in addition to the sponsors, you will find our Career Corner. This is something that is kind of new to our Pulse program, but what you can expect there is a photographer who will give you an amazing new LinkedIn profile headshot, which is wonderful. And we have Karen Tisdale with us today. She is a career strategist, so she will be able to take a look at your LinkedIn profile or your CV. She'll be able to give you some tips on how to better present yourself in interviews. And so if you're thinking about a career change or just want to get some general advice from her, definitely have a conversation. And then the final thing happening next door in the Success Hub, tonight after our final keynote, we are going to be doing a welcome reception until about 7 p.m., so please join us. Okay, it's time to make our Pulse list and check it twice. So I really hope that everyone has already downloaded the Pulse app. It's a really great way to kind of see familiar faces, get to know new people digitally, and also share some updates of learnings that you're having, so please download that. Also, it's very important for us to kind of amplify what we're doing here today and what Pulse means to the customer success profession in APAC. So please tweet about it. You can throw a shout out to Gainsight if you want, but definitely include the Pulse APAC hashtag. Tweet about customer success, post it on LinkedIn. We want people to know that we're here and we're happy and very excited. Also, we're putting all of the slides from the presentations onto Box. And so you can see this bit.ly link here. If you go to that link, you won't see any of the slides in there, but they will be there by the end of today. So by 8 p.m., everything will be in there. So you don't necessarily have to fiercely take notes. The slides are there. You can find coffee next door in the Success Hub. That's one of my priorities every day. So you can find that next door. We also have a barista who will make as many flat whites as you desire, because I know this is where the flat white was born. I appreciate it. Thank you. And finally, I want to just call this out. Network, network, network. If you happen to be in a line for, bag claim, or if you are waiting, in the catering line to get a plate of food, take that as an opportunity to turn to your neighbor, introduce yourself, tell them about what you're doing, the company you work for, like what your CS org looks like. Every opportunity can be a networking opportunity, so please use them as you see fit. If you have any questions too, you can email Pulse APAC or visit us at the Gainsight booth. Now, a few final things. I mentioned that we have the mobile app. So what we're going to do to kind of gamify the experience is if you post updates, or if you add comments, or if you're starting discussions, if you're interacting with people on the mobile app, you'll get points along the way. And at the end of the day, we're going to look at our leaderboard, the top 10 people, and we're going to pick somebody at random from that top 10 list, and we're going to give them a stay at the Hyatt Regency, which will include access to the Regency Club, which is amazing, great views, great food. Okay, final thing. If you have the app, or if you don't, you can go to slido.com, or you can pull up the Slido little tab within the mobile app. I would encourage you to please pull out your phones right now. We're going to do an activity. We're going to test out Slido. So if you have never used Slido before, it's amazing. Our attendees absolutely love it. It's one of the highest rated things people say that they've enjoyed having at the conference. Now, we're going to have it in almost every session, and you're going to be able to ask questions on your mobile app or see other people's questions and upvote them. But what we're going to do today is we're going to actually do a word cloud. And so I want to ask all of you to share, when you think about customer success, what is one word that comes to mind? And what's going to be really cool is we're going to see this word cloud kind of take different shapes and grow, and depending on which words are the most common. It's a
Nightmare.
fun exercise. It could be a nightmare. Yeah, actually, nightmare is up there. That's funny. So in addition to these word clouds, we are also using Slido for Q&A, as I mentioned, and for polling in certain sessions. So, have fun with it. Yeah, this experience, passion. I like passion. Dan, what is your word?
Nervous?
Yeah. So now that
it's all good.
you know what Slido is, please have fun with it. And thank you so much for being here. That's all I have to share.
Thanks, Lauren.
Yeah, thank you.
So a little circle of trust moment. I would beg you to not go back tomorrow to your office and tell your bosses who paid for you to come here that we helped you improve your LinkedIn profile and your CV. Please don't do that. I'll be in all sorts of trouble. I'm in enough trouble already. The John Herstein, who you'll see on a video a little bit later, is the CCO at Box. And almost every time he sees me, he'll point at me, he'll say, it's your fault that all my CSMs think they deserve more money. And I love that. That's a compliment to me. So last thing I'm going to do, just tell a couple of personal stories. I mean, customer success has been a really special thing for me. And I know I'm not the only one who feels that way. And I love the fact that some of the things that I have the opportunity to do have a personal impact on people's lives. And sometimes that favor gets returned. People do things for me or do things in general that give me real satisfaction. And so I spent a lot of time helping to write our book. I was one of the co-authors. That's a really cool thing to do. By the way, I'll just tell you, if you're ever thinking about writing a book, here's my advice, I guess. I don't know if this is advice or not. It's really cool to say you're going to write a book. It's really cool to say you wrote a book. And in between, not cool. It's just hard work. It's just plain hard work. But it's a labor of love. And so I'm just thrilled. I saw this picture. I have a friend who is VP of Customer Success at a company called CNET in London. It's a small company. And he said to me, I had coffee with him a couple weeks ago, and he says, yeah, I gave your book to my CEO, and I'm hoping that she reads it. She's on vacation, but I'm hoping that she reads it. And about 3 days later, he sent me this picture. Not posed. She really was reading the book with her scuba goggles on the side of the boat. And I'm like, this is just thrilling as an author to see that somebody actually, instead of scuba diving, somewhere not too far from here apparently, she was reading the book. That's just really thrilling and very humbling as well. So I told Emily, her name's Emily Forbes, I said, Emily, you're my new poster girl, and I'm showing this particular picture every time I have a speaking engagement for the rest of my life, because it just makes me feel really good. Another story, many of you probably kind of feel this way, and this became really poignant to me at Pulse Europe when somebody posted something on our Pulse app. And I've heard these kinds of comments many, many times over the last few years. And I tried to kind of summarize that particular post and some of the other comments that I've heard over the years. So I'll just read it to you. I've been working with customers all my life, but never really found the right job. I tried sales, and I was okay, but I didn't like being on quota. I was in services because it was customer connection, but that never really felt quite right either. But now I've landed in customer success and realized that this is what I've been searching for. I love what I do every day, and I love the community of customer success people. It's been a great experience. I've heard this so many times, but what was really cool was at Pulse Europe, when the guy who posted, basically I paraphrased what he posted, he put an exclamation point on it, and he did it by adding this particular hashtag. And I think for many people in the room, it kind of feels that way, right? It did for me, right? I've done sales and lots of other jobs, but when it became customer success and it started to have that urgency, and it didn't matter whether it was this hot job or not, it just felt like it was finally kind of just exactly the right job. And I know a whole bunch of you guys feel the exact same way. About 3 days later, I was on LinkedIn, and I'm just going through my feed, and it turns out I'm connected to a whole bunch of people in Brazil who do customer success, because it's such a big deal in Brazil. By the way, I don't speak Portuguese at all, so I can never understand any of their posts, but they come into my feed because I'm connected to them. So one day I was looking at it, and I saw this. I saw this book, this moleskin, and I kind of collect these, so it kind of caught my eye. But what else caught my eye was this is a young guy who's in customer success, Andre, and look what his tagline on his LinkedIn profile says: spreading the customer success word throughout the world. That's a pretty big vision for a young customer success manager. Contrast that with the guy who helped to write the book, who's looking only at Europe, right? His vision is actually bigger than mine. And I'd love it if all of you went to LinkedIn and said, my job or my role or part of me is spreading the customer success word throughout the world. Anyway, so I saw this book, and instead of just doing a like, I decided to say this. I just said, I want one of those. Now, I didn't expect anything out of that. I was just saying, that looks pretty cool. I want one of those. Well, within about a half an hour, I got this response from Andre. It says, hey, Dan, it will be an honor to send some your way. And I said, thanks. And then he said this. He said, I'm the one who has to thank you because of your customer success book. I found out what I want to do for the rest of my life. And then I said to him, well, this hashtag might be meaningful. Someone posted it at Pulse Europe, finally home. And his response was, that's exactly it, finally home. Well, our conversation went on, and he said this. This is really touching to me. And I didn't invent customer success, despite what some people might think. But when I hear these kinds of things, it's really poignant for me. I worked as a teacher for 10 years before discovering customer success. When I read your book, I was like, that's what I've been looking for. So I thanked him again. He thanked me. He invited me to Brazil, and I wanted to show this particular slide because I want all of you to help me hold him accountable. He promised to buy me a beer if I ever go to Brazil, right? So as my witnesses, we're going to hold him accountable for that. But I just think that story is not unique. I hear things like that all the time. I've had people come to me and say, thank you for inventing customer success. And I'm like, I didn't do that. But I'm so glad you're in it, and I'm so glad it feels like the right place for you. And I know a lot of you have a similar experience, right? You love dealing with customers, but you didn't want to be a salesperson. Whether you tried it or not, you just had a sense that wasn't it. And maybe support wasn't the right thing for you, and professional services wasn't the right thing for you. So I know many of you share that same kind of story, like I wandered around, but now I finally feel like I found the right place. And to all of you, which I shared with Andre, I say this: welcome home. So thank you for your time. Really appreciate the fact that you were paying attention. Nobody fell asleep. Thanks so much.